Hello and welcome back to the Podcast of Champions, your home for deep dives into Marvel, Star Wars, and the pop culture universe. I'm your moderator, Lord Deathman, and today we're tackling the second three episodes of season two of Andor, the incredible, politically charged, most compelling series we've seen out of the Star Wars saga. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on X, and check us out everywhere in social media. I'd like you to also join the conversation and share your theories on our message board at sakar.freeforums.net, which is your hub for all things fandom. Before we introduce the champions and deep dive into the arc and try to answer the essential questions, I want to give out a spoiler alert. We will be discussing major plot points and character arcs from the second three episodes of Andor Season 2. And if you haven't watched it yet, you'll want to consider doing that and then jumping back into the conversation here. Don't panic. We will be here when you get back. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce today's powerful panel for this discussion. I want to start with Merv and ask you the essential question. Ever been to Gorman?
I have not, but it looks lovely.
Outstanding, sir. Outstanding. For you, Grandmaster, I'd like to know, have you made your mind into a sunless space?
Hmm. Sometimes, yeah.
And last but certainly not least, we have Taylor on the panel. And for you, sir, I'd love to know: are you here, and are you ready to fight?
Why do you ask? And I'm curious by nature.
There you go. There you go, everyone. So, yeah, this has been one of my favorite Star Wars shows, if not my favorite of all time on the Disney Plus series. And I love talking about this show. And I think for this discussion and this arc, we're looking critically at the Gorman front of the rebellion. That is the theme of these three episodes, and they take us all over the landscape across many different characters, major and minor. And I want to start off talking to the panel about their quick impressions of what it was like for this year in the rebellion and for the Empire, and what your quick impressions were. So, starting with you, Grandmaster, how did you feel? Did they stick the landing with these second set of three episodes?
Did they stick the landing? At the end of episode 6, I was cheering and fist pumping. Um, the rise, return, and revenge of Big Scalene was a particular highlight for me in these three episodes. But overall, if I look at the story arc, I love the parallel that they did in episode 4 between Biggs and Andor, and on the other side we had Cyril and Tetra. Those two relationships, they fleshed out a little bit, and well, let's just say there was a difference in affection to be felt in both relationships. Uh, Weird dynamic, man. Weird dynamic. But still, I'm kind of rooting for Cyril and Dedra to make it. But I don't know why. I just like those two.
Yes,
I know I
yes.
shouldn't, but I still like them. Um, yeah, of course, there was another tragic love. Star-crossed lovers, if you know what I mean. Cinta and Val, of course, that is over now. And yeah, there was. I just love these three episodes. There was so much in them, and yeah, I'm looking at characters and character development and overarching stories, and yeah, then it's just great. And yeah, like I say, I was actually fist pumping and cheering when Doctor Gorst got what he deserved, and I hope it did last an eternity.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the doldrums, that's one way to get out of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, fast track to treatment for Bix. I was also fist pumping in the air, just as you were. Thanks
yeah.
for those quick impression notes. I'm going to jump to our next champion. Merv, the rebellion is having growing pains. The Empire is tightening its grip, and there's a personal cost, I think, across the aisle for both sides. What were your quick impressions of this second triptych of episodes?
Uh, Light on action, heavy on espionage, which is perfectly fine. I wasn't less invested in anything. Um, and yeah, everyone's heading to Gorman. Lovely place to be. Full of spiders. You'd think that would drive people away, but
Yeah,
nope,
yeah.
nope. Everyone
It,
likes it.
it it seems like it's wonderful this time of year on Gorman.
Yeah, yeah. It looks very beautiful. Minus the authoritarian boot that they're under, but
On your throat.
yeah, love these episodes. Again, like that, the plot was kind of centralized to Gorman on a variety of fronts, so we knew where, everyone was kind of meeting with the same people. Cass was meeting with the Gorman front, Cyril was meeting with the Gorman front. Everyone was kind of revolving around that, except Bix, who was dealing with her own trauma. Effectively by the end of episode 6. So, and then I'll just throw out a particular highlight of mine. Forrest Whitaker as why
Saw
am I drawing a blank?
Gerrera.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera, just fantastic. I mean, Forrest
Yeah,
Whitaker's been great for decades, but every single time he's tasked with delivering a line, I am just amazed at how captivating he is in this role. He is so good in
yeah,
his speech at the as um, Willem was kind of doing his thing with the mechanisms and getting the gas and the fuel for everyone. Just
yep.
everything he was saying was just reeled me right in. I love that character so much. I mean, he's a complicated character, but I love seeing him in the show.
Yeah, yeah. Such wonderful acting from Forrest Whitaker. I feel like we don't see him enough these days, but when we do see him, he's always yeah. This is a career highlight for him playing Saw Gerrera. I'll put it that way. And thank you for those initial quick impressions and those notes. I'm a big Saw fan. I wanted to join his insurgency after he's releasing Sister Rido. I'm like, can I get high on your supply, man, and start my own insurgency? Uh, but that being said, I'm going to go to our last champion for quick impressions here. Taylor, we've got double agents, we've got psychological warfare. All of this seems to be taking a toll on everybody. What were your quick takeaways from this and highlights from this second set of 3 episodes of Andor?
Yeah, as Merv mentioned, it was all about the espionage here. We saw lots and lots of spycraft in these 3 episodes, and it was very interesting. The other thing, of course, is the Gorman. The aesthetic, the imagery, the feel of the thing was very reminiscent of like Nazi occupied France, during
Yep.
World War II, right down to the point to their language sounding like French, but it wasn't French, but it did sound like French, you know. So that was cool. Uh, Forrest Whitaker is always fantastic, uh, but I mean, there's nothing bad to say about about this show. Uh,
Yeah.
just fantastic all around.
I mean, you could try, but I don't know if you'd get very far. All right, so clearly we have a sentiment amongst the panel that this is an exceptional show. This arc, focusing on uh, the Gorman front of the rebellion, had strong psychological aspects to it. I want to start with deep dives now, and Grandmaster, I want to go to you in particular. I know that you have an affinity for Bix Colleen. I know that this ending was a fist pumping moment for you. But looking at how Bix's arc has unfolded in terms of trauma, let's do a quick inventory here. So, she had a boyfriend who tried to dime her and her ex-boyfriend out to the rebellion. She was mercilessly interrogated by the rest in peace Dr. Gorman. She suffered an essay at the hands of an imperial lieutenant, and she had to go through what I believe was the death of a young imperial soldier who Cassian does what Cassian does. He murdered this young man just because he'd seen not their faces, but Bix's faces. So she's got a lot on her plate. I mean, how do you think they're handling the drama there?
Very well. Um, I don't know about you guys, but I really feel for Big Screen, and like I pity her. I I got the feeling that I just want to give her a hug and try to help her dealing with her trauma. And I know it's a fictional character and very well portrayed by I forgot her name, Adria Arjani. Did I say that right? Uh,
Adria, yeah.
Adria Arjani, really great actress. She does a hell of a job, and that's why that payoff at the end was so rewarding and so
Yeah, rewarding.
fulfilling, because they portrayed that trauma so well, and to see her dealing with her demon, her biggest demon, in such a way, yeah, it was incredible. And uh, uh, this show was already on the highest level for me, but this just added a little bit more spice and a little bit more. And yeah, I don't know where they're going in the last 6 episodes, but uh, this was amazing. I also really enjoyed the stuff with Saw Gerrera, with Bill, and with the guy that was a spy from the Empire. I love that. And when Saw gave Will
Lonnie.
yeah, when when Saw gave Will the power of the Black Panther, yeah, I love that. I mean, that was just, yeah, I really love that. Like Merv and Taylor said, of course, Whitaker kills it there, and yeah, that's a so enjoyable character. Of course, we know how he finishes, how he ends up, and yeah, everything, it fits, if you know what I mean.
It does.
Yeah, he's an extremist in everything that he does, and I love it. I really love it. Like, he just plainly shoots the guy. Oh, I know you betrayed me. You're dead now. And no thinking. No, just do a move on, uh, and leave everything what they have behind. It's great. Like I said before, I don't know why. I know I shouldn't, but I really like Deidre and Cheryl. Um, I liked how he uses his mother to get in with the Gorman Front rebellions, because he's complaining about what the Empire is doing to her, and like, he's a changed man. It's really clever. And when he visits Dedra at home, I don't know. Turn off the lights that way. I have a feeling well, uh, she took another outfit out of the closet. But anyway,
Indeed, indeed. We know they weren't baking imperial cookies for that hour.
no, and it gave off a vibe that, yeah, I'm not into that kind of stuff, but it fits that they are, and I don't know, but I just like that couple. I don't know why. I actually also really like. With that moment when Partagas, Didra, and Cyril are discussing Gorman and the rebellions, and then Partagas says something like, and he says, they're inexperienced but eager. And then Partagas waits for like 10 seconds and then says, yeah, how often those qualities come together, or something along that line. And then Cyril is so full of himself, like, oh, he likes what I said, but he doesn't realize that Partagas is actually
Right.
talking about him.
Yes. Yes.
It is so well written. It's so fantastic. There's so many little details where you go like, oh my God, how can they how can they write stuff like this, and that's so good. And yeah, I can go on and on and on and on and on, and I have zero criticisms of this show, zero. But maybe Merv or Taylor do, so I will gladly give the four to them.
Indeed, indeed. Before we move on to our next champion, I will say the Righto speech or the Righto monologue, as I like to say, which is masterfully done by Forrest Whitaker, got me thinking historically of how you get Japanese pilots, into a fighter plane and get them to crash it into an aircraft carrier. You got to give them crystal meth for. I didn't realize that was a pharmacologically powered feat until very recently, and I do make note of these things. And I guess Righto could be the way you get the insurgency started. That was quite a seduction, in terms of
Th-
that scene.
This is the way.
Yeah, because Williman came and he was like, "Look, dude, this is a 3-hour tour for me. I'm going to show you how to use this thing, and then I'm out." And now, now he's on the front. But yes, moving on to our next champion. I want to go to Merv, and Merv, specifically with you, I'd like to talk about the Gorman front specifically. We have Cassian coming into Gorman. He's not sent to assassinate anyone. He's not sent to steal the documents or do any of those things that you might have in any other kind of espionage drama. He's sent there to make an assessment. Is the Gorman front primed to join the rebellion? Is there critical action that can be taken there? Is the network tight enough for them to become a cell officially? Is what I got out of the narrative there. How do you feel about the Gorman front and the way things worked out over this 3-day arc for them?
I thought Cassian's assessment was pretty much spot on, but I also thought Luthen's counter to that, which is pretty much all fronts are good fronts to rival the
Yeah,
Empire. Even if they're just meant to burn. It was also pretty spot on, especially for that character. Um, just sticking in Gorman for a minute. I loved that Cass took this job on. Yeah, I thought it put an interesting subterfuge level to his character. He comes in as a fake fashion designer. He's making contacts with tailors and that sort of thing, and he has a certain air about them. One of my favorite scenes early on in this arc was whenever he's at a restaurant or whatever coffee shop, and the one woman from the Gorman front approaches him, and they have a brief conversation before he pretty much comes clean and is like, "What are you doing? You guys don't know what you're doing.
right,
You have no idea who I am." And pretty much puts her in her place. Like, you've just put everyone you care about in a jail cell if I'm the wrong guy. Like, you
right.
played your hand too obviously, and you have no idea who I am. And I think that is his first red flag, that this Gorman front is not nearly as tightly knit as Luthen in his operation go, as
Yeah,
the Rebel
yeah,
Alliance, as far as that. Like, this splinter cell is still got a lot of work if they're gonna be up to par with even somebody as seemingly new to this lifestyle as Cass is. He
right.
hasn't been with them that long either, but he seems to take to it like white on rice. So he did really well there. And on the flip side of that, you've got Cyril, just to further show the exploits of, or how exploitative the Gorman front really is. Cyril's on the other side of the thing, and he's meeting with the leader after like one day. Well, we see is one day of
Yeah,
hey, he took our secret code to meet us at a meeting, and he's already being introduced to. I can't remember the character's name, but they get the guy in charge of the Gorman front.
right.
So he might not know exactly that he's in that deep, but he really is in that deep. And again, if they wanted to, they could have destroyed everyone during that motorcade ambush, but they didn't. They wanted them to feel a taste of victory so that they play their hand even further. And I'm curious to see where that aspect goes further down the line, because I don't think it's going to end well for Gorman. I don't think those those lovely
Yeah,
white walls are going to stay white for very long. I think there's going to
indeed.
be another another. What did they say? The Tarkin massacre or whatever.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I think there's going to be another one of those pretty soon.
Yeah, yeah, those spiders are definitely on the endangered species list,
Yeah.
unfortunately, based on Gorman's acumen. And we lost a fighter,
Yeah.
tragically. One of the strongest characters on the show is sacrificed to this foolishness, which is, something that happens in real conflicts of this nature. How did you feel about Cinta's send off?
I mean, Cinta's great. I thought it was tragically foolish, and I mean, you saw it coming. They should have seen it coming from a mile away, just with how um, uncooperative. I'll put the word out that the Gorman Front
Yeah,
essentially were down to their lowest member at that planning meeting. Cinta and Vel are there to make sure things go right, and they
yeah,
set a few very specific rules in place,
very
of which
specific rules.
one gets broken, and of course it's one of those two that winds up on the dead end of the thing, and it's just like I was waiting for Val to strangle that guy,
Yeah,
because I think she left him with a worse situation where he's going to be tortured by this for however long he manages to live. But yeah, that was unfortunate because um, Cinta was great. Cinta was all about just the job at hand. From her first appearance back in season one till now. Anytime you saw her on screen, you knew that things were gonna go right, or at least you thought they were.
yeah.
So that was a little tragic. Shout out to still in Gorman, Richard Samel. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I think he's German, but he's the actor who plays the Gorman leader, Caro.
Tarot, yes.
He is in all kinds of stuff. He's an actor that I see all the time. He was most notably for me in Inglorious Bastards. He plays the victim of the bear Jew in that, and then he was also a prominent character in the TV show The Strain. And he just always nails it for me. Like anytime I see this actor show up, he's just like perfect, and I just thought he was
Yeah,
perfect in this. Even if there's flaws to the Gorman Front, I don't think it's due to like poor acting. So good for that. Um,
yeah,
and then just touching on, I already mentioned Saw. I thought everything with Saw and his people.
yeah.
He has a line where he pretty much says like, "Grab what you can and burn the rest." And if that doesn't encapsulate Saw Gerrera, I don't really know what is. Just grab what you can and burn the rest. So that nobody else can use it, because it's just about them and their thorn on the side of the Empire. Uh, Grandmaster touched on Bix again. It was such a nice thing, just a flip flop or whatever balancing act of we lose Cinta in one scene, which sucks because we know Cinta, we like Cinta, but then pretty much immediately after Bix gets her revenge. So it's like, oh, you're hitting a low as far as the story goes. Oh, but Bix comes out on top and it tortures. I think Dr. Gorst was his name for the final 10 minutes or whatever of his horrible life before he gets exploded. So I mean, fantastic. I love that. And I'm pretty sure they destroyed that whole lab of torture process, so
Yeah,
hopefully they won't be torturing anyone like that ever again. And I do think that was like the healing cleanse that Bix really needed to move on from this, because she's been dealing with just horrible trauma for the entirety of this season so far, post the torture from season one. And then uh, Luthen and Clea. Luthen is really interesting in these episodes because it feels like he's feeling out all of his people to see
yeah.
um,
Who's healthy?
who has burned everything out of their life and made their mind a sunless space like he has, and it feels like he doesn't see that with Cass because Cass feels too strongly about Bix. And then he doesn't feel that with Mon Mothma because Mon Mothma has Vel and her daughter and all that stuff. But who does he have? He has Clea, who I mentioned it off recording, but her scene in the art gallery where she was trying to regather the listening device. I just thought was so fantastic. She is a boss, and she
Yeah.
put the undercover Empire guy in his place. Basically just bossing him around, just telling him to go this way and that way. And at the time, I wasn't even sure if Luthen knew what she was doing. It almost felt like she was on her own. But obviously, by the end of that whole sequence and scene, they're like joyously laughing as they escaped. Like, oh, we should have killed all those guys up here, and they could have, and that would have been another fantastic moment too. But I just get a kick out of both those characters. I think they're just so fun to watch in their roles of just the fake facade that they put on while they're doing all this stuff behind the scenes. I just think it's great, and shout out to that moment made me care about Clea as a character for the rest of this series, however long she lasts. So
Yeah.
fantastic show.
Strong work from that actress. And once again, a shout out to Cinta, who was played by Verada Sethu, is the actress's name. There are just so many small moments with her throughout this series, season 1 and 2, where you're like, wow, she just knifed this dude in an alley, no big deal. She's walking out of the sort of imperial suite where they were holding the hostages after Aldani, and she's in an imperial uniform. Those hostages are dead, right? And a giant rifle as she's leaving. So I'm like, she could be the secret badass of this show. And what really hit me hard about her death is that she was beginning to open up. She's been a closed fist this entire thing. There's no daylight in there for Vel, who wants just a little something, a grain, a molecule from this woman to say, hey, what we have is real. Cinta won't give it up, but when she finally does, I think in this arc, that's when she gets taken out. And I was like, God, you bastards. You were just starting to humanize her, and then you kind of took her away from us. But hey, it makes for good drama, and I just wanted to shout out her performance there. Thank you so much, Merv, for all of that commentary. I think you were spot on. Taylor, the detail comes to you now, and we've got two pieces of critical action from this arc for you to tackle. I need to get your opinion on insurgency. Saw Gerrera's camp bringing in Williman, and this guy thinking he's on Gilligan's Island. I'm just getting on this boat for 3 hours and then I'm going home. Uh, and then we need to look at that party. Where we see everybody's favorite military director, Orson Krennic, shows up in dress uniform, no less. Two wonderful pieces of storytelling there. But give me your overall impressions and your deep dive.
Well, the scenes with Saul Guerrera, I was really enraptured by the acting, especially Forrest Whitaker's acting. But I will also admit I'm not 100% sure what their plan is. I'm not sure what that device they were training on is actually going to do. I assume that I thought it was some sort of a bomb or something, but I guess it's going to release a gas of some sort
Yeah.
somewhere. So I wasn't completely following all of the nitnoid parts of that, but obviously he's planning some kind of an attack against the Empire, and he's taken every measure he can to ensure the security of this event, including drugging up the kid who's gonna pull the trigger, I guess. Um,
Yeah, he
yeah,
could have
that was
made a
fascinating.
suicide bomber there, I think
Yeah,
is the
most
implication
likely.
that this is, how and this rhydonium, the rhino that they're
Yeah,
mining, I understand it as twofold. One, it is a source of fuel that the insurgency can use for its own purposes, and then it can also be used as a weapon. And it seems that Saw in his extremism wouldn't isn't really discriminating between imperial targets and sympathetic targets. He seems to be the terrorist of this whole rebellion.
right. Yes, and the party scene, of course, the best part about that for me was the Mon Mothma and Rennick got to have a social conversation with a whole lot of subtext going on there.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
don't like each other at all. Otherwise, Bix, gee whiz, uh, she had this trauma. Um, we tried supporting her, giving her emotional support, and that didn't work. And then she tried self medicating,
Yeah.
And of course, that didn't work. But who knew? All she had to do was torture a guy and then blow him to bits, and that would have brought her right back,
She's
right
on
back
the
into the
road
fight.
to recovery. She's on the
It's
road to
on the
recovery
road to
now.
recovery. That's all she had to do was torture a guy and then blow him to bits, blow up the place. But
Yeah.
that place, that actually is a blow to the Empire, because they were using that to expand their capacity for torture. They were going to have
Yeah. Yeah.
the guy was going to be training other people on how to torture information out of people, because as we found out earlier, they have too many prisoners and not enough torturers apparently. So
Yeah. They were
that
going
was
to expand Dr. Gorst into a program, was the
exactly
language they used. Yeah.
exactly school for Mengelas or something. So at least they blew him up. Yeah, the Gorman thing. Uh, Fascinating, the whole planning and everything, and how Cassian said these people don't know what they're doing, they're not ready. But Luthen's idea of this will be a front in a major planet, a rich planet. We have a rebellion there again. That's only good for us. But they're actually playing right into the Empire's hands. The Empire is letting them do all of this. They know everything that's going on, and they want a rebellion on Gorman because they need an excuse to go in there and take everything that they want.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's the irony of it all. Um, Cinta really died for nothing. The Empire was watching them steal those weapons because that's exactly what they want them to do, to give them confidence so they will expand their rebellion on Gorman, and they can say, oh, well, this is so bad, we're going to have to evacuate everybody and go in and destroy
Yeah.
the whole planet when we pull all the whatever
The minerals out of it. Yeah.
minerals out of it. So sorry, spiders, you can't come. Um, Even when you got a spider with candy in it, that's the national animal of Gorman is spiders. Um, uh, yeah, Deidre and Cyril. Now Cyril, he doesn't really know what's going on. All right, and
No.
he's a useful idiot apparently, more or less. I wonder what's going to happen when he does find out like what's really going on, because he thinks he's putting helping put down a rebellion, but he doesn't know what the end game of this rebellion in Gorman is. He doesn't know that they're setting up these Gorman guys so that they can destroy the whole planet, more or less. And I don't know where his feelings are going to lie when he finds out that. I just, he's such an interesting character. We really don't know what's going on in his head, other than we now know what the best day of his life was.
But yeah. Wow. Wow.
When he got to talk to, and apparently it wasn't the 1 hour with Deidre. It was talking to the director.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. We got an hour. Turn off the lights. Whoa, dial it back, you seductress, you. Um, and that's my other question. Does she care about him, or is she 100% just using him as well? I don't know. I tend to think that she actually does care about him, that there is an actual real relationship there. But I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out the other way and she doesn't give a hoot about Cyril and that she is just using
Yeah.
him.
I don't know. That's a good question, and I think that her relationship with Cyril is that he's the only one that's ever seen her vulnerable
Hmm.
after Ferrex and the riot, and I think she'd want to keep someone like that close to her, and be able to kind of keep track of that person, because to everyone else she's all veneer of strength and
Right.
meticulousness and ruthlessness. She wouldn't want Cyril out in the wild.
Yeah.
It'd be better to marry him.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she's an ice queen. she's frigid.
Yeah.
Um, Now the heist. Now these 3 episodes, I mean, they're a slow burn, and I'm okay with slow burns, because I mean there was tons of stuff happening, even though there was no action per se and there was no culmination, but there
Right.
was tons of stuff happening and tons of interesting, fascinating conversation. But a 12 episode season and 3 whole episodes of slow burn, that even for me that might be a little bit pushing it.
And that's
Um,
fair.
and then of course the heist scene. I mean, the camera work in the heist scene was amazing. If you remember, there was that shot when they took the first case off of the the carrier there was an overhead shot where they opened it up and verified that there were weapons in it, closed it, pushed
Closed
it
it and
over,
sent it. Yeah.
threw it into the tunnel. The camera followed it down the tunnel and then followed it as
Yeah.
they picked it up and put it in. I don't know how they filmed that, okay? Unless it was all CGI. I do
It
not know how
had to
they
be.
filmed
It
that.
had to be. I was thinking about it, and I can't wait for those guys on corridor corner to break it down.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was really great. And then like Murph pointed out, we had a rule. You're not supposed to have a blaster. And the guy brought a blaster and it went off and that great character,
Yeah.
a great character and a very important part of the rebellion got killed. And
Yeah.
of course, again, and then the sad part, of course, is it's all for nothing because the Empire is pulling the strings on this whole thing
Yep.
anyway. So again, just 3 great episodes.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one of my favorite moments and one of the more memorable monologues besides Saw is Vel talking about Cinta.
Hmm.
Now, they're so compartmentalized that none of these people on Gorman are aware of the relationship that these two have. So she has to talk about her, a person she really cares about, but in this way that's dialed down, right? That preserves their covers and their relationships. There's just a lot of subtext in her speech about it and how she's reprimanding that guy. And again, no small actors, no small parts on this show, because even this guy who is involved in a misfire, um, he gets to do some incredible acting. I'm sure that's
Hmm.
going to be on his demo reel as the first clip. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great work there. But thank you, Taylor, for the rundown. I feel like you and I went all the way through all the different sections of the show, so that was some good talk there. But we do have a quick follow up from the Grandmaster himself. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, it's a follow up on Merv, actually. Not so much a follow up, but a question that rose in my mind while I was watching the final episode. Um, who's the boss? Is it Luthen or is it Clea?
it,
No, I'm
it could be
serious.
Claire. Yeah, it
Yeah,
could be Claire.
because um, she is actually like, if you can't do what I want you to do, I'm gonna cut you loose. At least that vibe I got from their whole dynamic. So, is Luthen really the leader of the rebellion, or is he only in a front?
That's a really good question, and for I've historically, when you read about rebellions, insurgencies, counterinsurgencies, usually the person with the money is the one who's in charge. So I was thinking Mag Mothma is the leader of this rebellion. Playing at being a senator by day, but funding an entire rebellion by night. I don't know who's in charge on this show, and it's a wonderful kind of confusion.
No, I'm really curious if we get if they continue to play with this and if there's a reveal of some sort coming. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but I just hope in this next yeah, we're gonna move on to the rating here, and I've got a question for everybody along with their rating as just a little bonus content for the audience out there. We've had an incredible, lively discussion about this show. We could probably go on for another couple of hours talking about it, but unfortunately, we have to do our duty here and rate this 3 episode second arc of Andor. And I also want to ask each member of the panel, is there something that they're hoping to see in the remaining 2 arcs that we have left of the show? I'm going to start things off with Merv.
Ooh, hoping to see. Um, I guess just really curious as to, I guess specifically Luthen, but now Luthen and Clea, where they wind up because I don't remember seeing them in Rogue One. So, you know, are they still alive at the end of this series, or
Right.
in what ramifications does that have? I guess that's my most curious moment right now is like, so where do these characters wind up? I mean, obviously, as we know, like anyone can die at any time in this. It doesn't even have to be for anything important. just like Cinta. You could just get shot willy nilly by some schmuck on the street. But yeah, I guess that'd be my biggest question, or the biggest one to see. But if it's something else, I guess we've talked about this a little bit. But K2SO, uh, he seems real close with Cassian in Rogue One, and I'm just curious how long that relationship came about because he's so far he's not. There's probably a million other questions I could think of, but I'll just leave it at those two for now. And then just a couple things before I give you my rating.
Sure.
I love Partagast as a character. I think he's hilarious. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but just the way he talks to people just kills me every time. Whenever I don't remember the two characters' names, but the one guy who's working with the rebellion and the other guy who isn't, whenever they get tasked with overseeing Gorst's torture chamber or whatever, the one guy says, "Oh, this is such a great honor," and Partagast is just like temper your expectations, like chill out. You know what I mean? I just
Calibrate
love the
your
way,
enthusiasm.
yeah, like he like props people up when they don't deserve it and like puts them down maybe when they do. It just I love the way that he talks to his people. It's just hilarious to me. And
Yeah.
then just a little thing about Rido. Saw is in the Clone Wars, which I haven't watched all of, but I know enough that he's a part of it, and his origin is a part of it, and Rido is a part of his origin there, where he actually has a sister, and Rido's involved. But apparently, if you inhale the fumes from Rido, you get some kind of a ridiculous high. So that is essentially all these people are huffing Rido, and I'm sure they're going to use it for explosive properties because it's highly volatile, and as well as being used for fuel. It's essentially just a bunch of gasoline, is how I understand it. But I just wanted to throw that out there so that everyone understands. Like they're all sniffing Rido and using it to blow up their enemies. So
Yep.
that's kind of Saul Guerrero.
Then
Um,
it adds an incredible layer of dimension to the character to think that he's high all the time.
Yeah, he gets high on his own supply, and that machine helps him get the Rido. Like he can use it to infiltrate the pumps wherever Rido gets made. I guess that was the whole point of him acquiring it in the first place, so that one, they can feed their addiction, and two, it's fuel to burn. Because he just seems like he wants to burn the world.
Yeah.
And another thought I had, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but maybe someday the Deidre Cyril relationship, if they can, maybe they have a break from the Empire, they go away on a vacation to the beautiful tropical paradise of Scarif someday. Maybe that's where they wind up. I just thought about that, like a little bit of relationship complications. Let's take a vacation, and then they get blown up by the Death Star, so that'd be fun.
Indeed.
Um,
I
as far as a rating, 10 out of 10. This show's pretty much as close to perfect as I can envision a Star Wars show being. So I'm constantly impressed with where it's going.
Yeah, agree with you there 100%. It is a show that definitely rewards your attention, and it rewards you sort of being in the moment watching it. You don't have your iPad or your phone open or whatever. You're locked in, and you are watching this drama unfold. Thank you so much for the grade. Moving on to Grandmaster. Anything in this series that you want to see in these final two arcs, because it is going to be the conclusion of the entire series, and can we have your grade for this latest trifecta of episodes?
Yeah, I want to see Dedra Miro go really nasty, like like truly fascist, uh, camp commander evil. I want to see that, and and then Cyril standing there and smiling or something like that. That I want to see. No, no, seriously, I really want to see the Empire at its absolute worst, and I hope when it comes to Gorman, we get a real massacre. That there's no more debate. The Empire is evil, and Dedra Miro is going to be the most hated character in all of Star Wars ever, even worse than Darth Vader or the Emperor himself. She needs to be the face of evil after in 2 weeks' time. She needs to be the face of evil. That's I want to see. As far as my rating go, episode 4 10, episode 5 a 10, and episode 6 gets an 11 because
Oh, the
it's
dial goes all
clean.
the way up to 11.
Yes,
Outstanding. Okay. Amazing. You might just get your wish when it comes to Dedra. Is it Deidre or Dedra?
I
Like
don't know.
part of gas always says Dedra, and there's like the dead part of that always gets me thinking about her name.
I don't
But
know.
in any event, yeah, stellar writing, incredible character. I wouldn't mind seeing her get pushed to the limits, but I will say, just as a final note on the relationship, I think Cyril believes he's actually upholding the rule of law in his society. He doesn't believe that he's engaged in any kind of atrocity. He doesn't believe he's acting amorally or in a way that's unethical, right? He hasn't seen that layer of it, but Dedra has no such compunction. She was raised and indoctrinated from birth practically in the Empire's way. So it's us against them as far as she's concerned. And that's her take. So who knows? Maybe Cyril will meet a nice Gorman French girl and find out what real love is and uh get swept up into the rebellion, right
Oh,
before
but
the planet is annihilated.
if that happens, I will get my wish because Dedra will go down hard on that planet then as a revenge.
Indeed.
Give me back
Indeed,
Cyril.
indeed. Give me back my Cyril. Awesome, awesome. All right, all right. Getting straight faces again here, everybody. We've got the final set of grades to come in from Taylor. We've got the question goes to you two. Is there anything you want to get out? I mean, do you want the Emperor, Darth Vader? Do you want to see the Ursos, K2? Is there anything specific you want out of your Christmas gift in these last 6 episodes? Because they are wrapping up. And then let's get your grade for these past 3 episodes.
Yeah. Before that, just to follow up, I guess, the galaxy hath no fury like a Dedra scorned. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, what do I want to see? Oh, so many things. We need Ewoks. Have not had enough.
The
And
Ewok front, what the Endor front? We need to
the
see how
Andor
they.
front. We need the Andor front.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go to Tatooine, or I'm definitely going to boycott the rest.
Indeed, indeed, yes. We got to get
Um,
Tatooine in there somehow.
but I'm just loving the show. I don't care what they put in, as because I just want to see it to its fruition. And I I want to emphasize that as much as I love this show, I don't think all Star Wars has to be like this show. I
Yeah,
think there is
yeah.
a room. There is a time and a place. There's room for it, just like the MCU can be Daredevil Born Again, and it can also be, Quantumania. Okay, there's room for everything in these universes, and I'm glad that Star Wars has finally made room for this series because it's fantastic. Uh, Grading. I'm gonna give this three episode arc here a 9 out of 10.
A 9 out of 10. A slight surprise there, but that
If
being
there was an
said,
Ewok, they would have made 10, but no.
or a lightsaber, if somebody got
Or
cut in half.
or if they had the power of many.
Yes. No disrespect to our friends on the Acolyte. Check out our content on that if you want to get in on that particular joke. All right, so we've done it. Obviously, a lot of great enthusiasm for this show in the room. I hope that obviously we are taped in front of a live studio audience here at the Podcast of Champions. So cue the applause. we are we are getting ready to sign off tonight. Then I want to thank no, seriously, I want to thank our audience and I want to thank the panelists for working with me today to help unpack all of the incredible story threads of this monumental show. I think everyone is really enjoying it. If you're late to getting to it as a Star Wars fan, it's a high recommendation. from the champions. So I'm going to sign us off by saying that we certainly do want you to check out our social medias. You know the drill. Check us out on X, check us out on YouTube. Jump into the comments. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us out as far as the channel is concerned. And last but certainly not least, check us out on sakar.freeforums.net, where the conversation about Andor is definitely going to continue in that venue. So until we get a chance to talk about the next 3 episodes, may the force be with you.